Hi, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jack Canfield, and with me today is Brandt Morgan. He's the author of a book about how you can answer burning questions and solve pressing problems in just minutes by tapping into your own inner wisdom. And for more than 20 years, Brandt has done workshops and retreats in the United States, Canada, Mexico, and Europe, helping people discover who they are, why they're here, and how to live their greatest dreams. And what he's discovered, he says, is that we all have the answers to our deepest and most difficult questions. And we just need to have the courage to ask them and then get the mind out of the way, for which he's developed a simple but powerful way to do just that. So welcome to the show, Brandt.
Oh, thank you, Jack. It's great to be here.
Well, let me just start by telling you and our viewers that I love what you've written. You're doing some amazing work. Not only is it a great read, it contains a lot of profound wisdom. And as I've said in the introduction, I love the method you've developed that should be part, I think, of everybody's toolbox. So much so that I think it should be taught in schools. So having said all that, let's dive in and talk a little bit about the book and what you're trying to do with it.
Okay, well, the book, Jack, is about three things, really. First, it's about a simple meditation technique, as you mentioned, and I call that technique the vision walk. Mm-hmm. The vision walk allows you to answer burning questions and solve pressing problems in a really short period of time, just minutes. Questions like, why am I here? What's my purpose in life? Shall I stay in this relationship? What's the next step in my business? Can I trust my stockbroker? Anything, really. But the answers you get are a lot deeper and truer and more transformative than any you could get from a book or a friend or a therapist. And the reason for that is because the vision walk meditation takes you out of your head into your heart, which is the doorway to deeper consciousness. And there you get messages, spontaneous messages from your true self that's been waiting to get through to you in many cases that help you live in alignment with who you really are. So first, the book explains the vision walk technique, where it comes from, how it works, how to do it, and how to interpret your walk when you're done. But second, and on a deeper level, it gives a lot of examples of how quickly and dramatically people's lives can change even after that first vision walk. And third, and this is really my favorite subject of all, Jack, it's about that deep, beautiful, awesome, mostly untapped ocean of wisdom inside all of us. Not just some of us, all of us. And the amazing things that can happen when we take just a few minutes out of our busy day to stop and dive down beneath the surface of the choppy ocean we live on most of the time, and then access the depths of that beautiful ocean that we are more consistently. So ultimately, what I hope to do, no, not hope, Jack, plan to do, is inspire as many people as possible to actually get out and do the vision walk. In other words, yeah, by all means, read the book, but don't forget to do the process, because doing it is what changes and in some cases transforms your life.
Now, I always teasingly say, if you just read it and don't do it, you end up with what I call shelf esteem. The book's on the shelf, but it didn't change your life at all.
Theoretical esteem, right.
There you go. Exactly. Now, you say the vision walk was inspired by the Native American vision quest. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, I'd love to. So the Native American vision quest is an awesome, powerful rite of passage, and traditionally a very strenuous rite of passage. A time when a young person coming of age or an older person looking for clarity in a difficult life passage goes out into the wilderness to spend usually 4 days and 4 nights fasting and praying and dancing inside a 10-foot circle. You're confined to this 10-foot space. And so there's no food, no socializing, no cell phones, believe it or not, nothing to do, nowhere to go. It's just you and the sights and sounds of nature and the thoughts going through your own head. And that can get old pretty fast. So usually after a couple of days of this kind of deprivation, the body gets really tired. The mind shuts down. And the doorway to the heart, the doorway to the spirit world opens up. You might say the boundaries between you and nature, you and everything really, become thinner, more permeable. And what happens then can be just astounding sometimes. My first quest in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, about 40 years ago now, I was amazed to find myself talking sort of telepathically to nature and getting precious messages about my life's journey, my purpose, my direction, from woodpeckers and squirrels and ants and inchworms, acorns, even trees and rocks and clouds were talking to me. One night, I remember seeing a shooting star just streak across the sky, 2 seconds. And it just touched me to the core about how short a human life really is and how precious the time we have here together. I left that vision quest circled completely changed and just crystal clear about who I was, why I was here, and just full of passion about what I came here to do. So fast forward 20 years, I'm teaching a class on Toltec wisdom to a group of people on a dusty ranch outside Santa Fe, New Mexico. Now, as you know, Jack, Toltec wisdom is a very heart-based tradition, and my students, they were all up in their heads. So on a break, I was racking my brain about like, how do I get them out of their heads and into their hearts? When suddenly my inner voice chimed in, send them on a vision quest. Right. So I found myself arguing with my inner voice. What do you mean send them on a vision quest? You can't do that. That's 4 days and 4 nights in a 10-foot circle. But my inner voice chimed right back. Don't argue, just do it. Gather them together, do a 10-minute meditation, taking them out of their heads and into their hearts. And don't worry, I'll give you the download. Have them ask a question of supreme importance and then send them out onto the landscape following their hearts. You'll see, they'll all get their answers, I promise. So I did. I took the advice of my intuition, trusted it, and went ahead. And 20 minutes after I sent these people out on their vision walks, everybody was back with their answers. Many of those answers really profound, life-changing. And that was the birth of the vision walk. And I realized then it was a kind of mini vision quest, all in the space of a half an hour instead of 4 days and nights. But it was inspired by the Native American vision quest and embodied the spirit of the quest, which is the connection with that deeper self that has the answers to our questions and problems.
That's fascinating. I can't tell you how many people I've interviewed that have come up with processes that are transformational in many, many different fields that literally asked the question and trusted they would get an answer from their intuition and did. And it created a whole transformational shift. So first, I just want to acknowledge that. That's really amazingly cool. So tell us a little bit about what are some of the examples of people who've had their life changed by doing the vision walk technique that you've developed?
Oh, sure. Well, for example, on that first vision walk, there was a man whose wife had left him 2 years previous and who was just still carrying around a lot of grief and anger and frustration. And he asked the question, how can I let go of this relationship? So he did the meditation, sent out his question, opened his eyes, and on a dusty trail, he was attracted to a small, dark object down at his feet. So he bent down and picked it up, and it turned out to be the empty shell of a dead cicada beetle. And as he held the beetle in his hand and looked at it, suddenly it hit him, oh my God, this is what I've been carrying around. It's an empty shell. There's nothing in it. And as he turned his hand over and dropped the beetle back into the dust, he also dropped all of the anger and grief and heaviness and misery he'd been carrying around with him for 2 years. No long process, no psychotherapy, no agonizing. He just let go, Jack. And in that moment, he was washed clean. He came back with tears streaming down his face, so relieved and happy and ready to start a new life. But he'd gotten much more than an answer, see, that you could get from a book or talking to somebody. He had actually gotten an instant transformation. It had just happened because he connected with that inner wisdom that was just under the surface. Another walk that same day, and the most amazing, was a woman who was the last to come in. While she was still out in the woods, the ranch cook had brought out a 5-gallon pot with a big hairy tarantula at the bottom. And the cook was showing it around, and people were exclaiming over it, oohing and awing and eking, some of them. But when this last woman appeared and looked inside, she just screamed and ran back into the woods. And later, after we'd coaxed her back, she said, "You'll never believe my question. It was, why am I always so afraid of spiders?" And so it was such a great opening for us, though, Jack, because then we got to tell her the story of Spider Woman, the one who in Native American mythology weaves the web of life and everything in it. And in doing that, she came to see what she was really afraid of was her own power and creativity. Once she really got that, she dropped a major fear and began to own her power, and the spider became her power animal, her greatest ally. So that was another life-changing experience. Another one that I did many years later was with a young woman who was totally frustrated with her work as head of the gang unit in the Santa County Sheriff's Department. In fact, she wasn't even really sure why she was on the planet. So on a park bench near the ocean one day, she sent out the question, "What's my purpose in life? Why am I here?" And during her walk, her heart led her toward a child's play area near the ocean. I watched her from the park bench, almost like she was floating over the landscape. And suddenly she stopped dead in her tracks. A few yards in front of her was a life-size marble sculpture of a seal. She just stood there staring at the seal, transfixed for a moment. And then she burst into tears. After she composed herself and come back, I asked her, "Well, what happened?" And she said, "The seal, it spoke to me just like I'm talking to you right now, so clear." "Well, what did it say?" I asked. And she said, "Your purpose, you remember. You remember. It's just to love. That's all. You remember." And in that moment, she did remember, but not just her head. Her whole body, mind, and spirit remembered. You know, this hardened policewoman all of a sudden opened up to her inner compassion and joy and love, her inherent appreciation for life and her eagerness to give all that she has to give. And in that rush of remembrance, her whole life changed. A few weeks later, she left the police department, began studying Eastern spiritual traditions, and she's now expressing her love in a lot of different ways, among them helping to run a Buddhist retreat center on the East Coast. So the vision walk instantly put her into alignment with who she already was. In seconds, she dropped decades of what I call social and family conditioning that we've all had in different ways, saying she needed to protect and defend herself, that she wasn't good enough, et cetera, all those voices gone, revealing that this beautiful, vulnerable, loving woman underneath all that social veneer. So it was as though her true self was just waiting there to get through to her. And I've seen that same thing happen with so many other vision walkers who take just a few minutes to set aside their conditioned mind, wade into that vast, deep ocean of wisdom that we are, and open up to life's new possibilities. One more example, Jack, that I'd like to share is that it works just as well for business questions too. Like a publisher I know who has a home on the ocean went down to the beach and sent out the question, what does my business need most right now? He walked along the beach, seeing the usual seabirds and clouds and waves washing up on the shore, nothing unusual. And then suddenly he came upon the carcass of a dead walrus, something he'd never seen before in his years of walking on the beach. Then the moment he saw it, he heard the words, "Get rid of the dead weight." And over the next couple of weeks, he cleared out his old book inventory, totally streamlined and focused his business. And bottom line for him, in 20 minutes, he got an answer that saved him many thousands of dollars. I've seen it happen again and again.
That's very cool. So I'm curious what fascinates you most about the Vision Walk, and where do you plan to take it from here?
Well, first of all, Jack, it's obvious to me, after all the years I've been doing this, that the Vision Walk is a doorway to deeper consciousness. So many aha moments, so many wow moments. And I'm fascinated by what's really happening in those moments. You can't watch somebody's face light up in that moment of discovery without marveling over it. You think to yourself, they're in contact with who they really are. It's coming through in their face, their gestures, they're bright and radiant and excited. They're crying with joy and gratitude. This is who they really are right now, totally embodied and calling the shots in their lives. So it's obvious to me that what's really happening is a revelation, a reunion of sorts, this moment of aha. But I always ask, reunion with what or whom? We're always so quick to say we're getting these answers from the universe or from the divine or from something nebulous outside ourselves. But can the universe or the divine ever be outside ourselves? It's obvious to me that the one who's so intricately orchestrating these answers isn't separate from us in any way. But whatever it is, it's as close as our next heartbeat. It's only been covered up, actually. And in the moment of reunion, that moment of aha, that true self comes through, showing its true colors. That person is obviously more themselves than they've been in months or even years.
So unfortunately, we're running out of time, and I could listen to you forever because you talk poetically because you're tapped in at a deep level, and I appreciate that. But where you've got an app, you've got an audio that people can listen to. I did, by the way, and I loved it. I actually did a vision walk in my office, at night, and I got a huge answer about what the next step was for me in my own work. So I appreciate you.
Oh, beautiful, Jack. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And so where can people find out more about the work you do? I know you do the retreats. You've got all these different modalities that people can connect with you. How do they find out about that? Where do they go?
Well, the best and simplest way is just to go to brandtmorgan.com, my website. Mm-hmm. And everything I'm up to is going to be posted there. And they can get the book on Amazon.
Very good. Well, I love your work. I literally, when I said I think every kid should learn this in school, I seriously mean it, because everyone's looking outside for the answers, and there's no question there's value in books and things like that. But the inner wisdom that you tap into through the process that you're facilitating for people is just really is where we should be going. So thank you so much, Brandt. Really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. It's just been a joy to be here.
Well, I've been a joy to work with you. I hope we'll have more chances in the future to do that.
I do too.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today as well. Those of you who tuned in, I am not kidding. This is such a simple but powerful tool to really answer pretty much any question you have in life about anything at all, because the answers do lie within us and the connection we have to the divine, which is in us, as Brandt said. So check out the book, check out his website, and tune in again next week. We're going to have another, what I call, thought leader who will help you to create a life of more ease, more joy, more fulfillment, more happiness, more health, more abundance, more impact in the world, whatever it is you're wanting to do. So thanks again for joining us. And remember, tune in next week. And between now and then, remember, the answers do lie inside of you. All right. Take care, everybody.